When you want to reach a certain destination, you consult a map. You use it to build your route, estimate the time and effort required to reach the destination, and simply to visualize the road ahead. When we're talking about other life destinations, we do the same. Calendars and planners are where we arrange big personal projects like remodeling the house or organizing a family vacation. But what if we're dealing with a much more complex and costly project taking many months and requiring lots of people to make it happen? How do we do that? Let's talk about a product roadmap and how to visualize the product's progress and success. This is a product roadmap. This too. And this. As you can see, they're fairly simple and don't include all the details that go into creating a software product. That's because they exist to provide a visual summary of what you're building and reflect the company's strategic goals. It fulfills a few important functions. The first is to communicate strategy to the dev team. The product roadmap serves as a reminder for the team of where their day-to-day work fits into the big picture. Milestones and deadlines are always visible, so people have a clear sense of what they're working towards and when the result is expected. The second is progress visualization for the client. The roadmap is used to show the stakeholders what's already been finished and ensure that the project follows the established timeframe. The third function emanates from the previous two. Developers and stakeholders both refer to the product roadmap as the single source of truth, diminishing the chance of misunderstanding or deviations from the original plan happening on the way. Finally, product roadmaps are also often used to get the end users excited about the upcoming product, or if your product is crowdfunded, provide them with updates. A product roadmap is typically created by a product manager, a person who carries the vision and leads product development. Check out our video explaining this job in more detail. A PM uses the roadmap to basically tell everyone else of their plans. To create a roadmap, a product manager uses specialized tools that allow the roadmap to be easily edited and shared. Finally, let's cover what exactly is featured on a roadmap. As we already mentioned, a roadmap is a high-level image of the product's vision, so it won't have a list of all product features as a Gantt chart does. A common project management tool, a Gantt chart also uses bars to display a schedule of tasks, but they're much more detailed. That's a big difference between them. Whereas a Gantt chart shows what team must complete what work and in what order, basically how the product should be completed, a roadmap shows the why of the product, explaining the strategic thinking behind it. So, what should you include in a roadmap? The main components of the product roadmap are themes, timeframes, and milestones. First are themes. In agile development, themes are long-term objectives that have a significant impact on your company. A theme is the largest unit of work, broad strokes shaping the overall strategy. They are further broken down into epics, user stories, and tasks. Themes and epics are typically color-coded by teams, status, or other internal logic. The second most important structural element of the roadmap are timeframes. They are reflected in the lengths of the theme's bars and indicate the time within which you plan to achieve a theme. Depending on the scope of the product, the roadmap may use the time horizon of years, quarters, or months. For each theme and epic, a rough approximation is given, but for some themes, a deadline may be set. For example, when there's a strategic reason why one theme should be achieved by a specific time. To indicate some important dates, a product roadmap can also feature milestones. Milestones are time-based markers that might have importance for the team. They can be external, like industry events that take place regardless of your plan. For example, the date the competitor's product goes live, so you might want to check it out. Internal milestones signify internal events like meetings or points where you get closer to the end goal. Each project manager decides what milestones to include, but they usually are important deadlines, launches, the start or end of a development phase, or other dates that matter. Milestones are tricky because you don't want to have them for every foreseeable achievement, but consider what the audience of the roadmap might find useful to see. While the dev team needs deadlines, stakeholders will benefit from progress markers, and end users will care about launches. This is where we need to talk about sharing and presenting your roadmap. How should you do that? Although roadmaps are living documents that are constantly seen and updated, there comes a time when you need to present it. There's an initial presentation when you first show the audience the vision, and there are update meetings where the whole team catches up. Roadmaps typically have two audiences: stakeholders and developers. Sometimes you also want to share it with end users. Let's start with a presentation for developers. The engineering team uses a roadmap to know what they will be building, for what purpose, and how it should be delivered. So presentation is the way to motivate employees and demonstrate the value their work will bring in the next few months to the company and the end user. For stakeholders, the presentation and the roadmap will look different. A roadmap is not a pitch or a concept presentation, so you're not showing it to get approval, but to affirm what has been established in numerous meetings before that. Here, you assure the stakeholders that you understand the company's objectives and have the plan to meet them. A roadmap for stakeholders is usually a simplified version of the roadmap used by your team, but you need to prepare for pushbacks and counter questions about long timelines, for example. There are no rules on how roadmaps should be presented to end users. If your goal is to excite the crowd, either a short video or a fun graph placed on your social media pages could be a good idea. If your end users are more heavily or perhaps monetarily invested, they would appreciate a roadmap with dates and more detailed stages of development, so they feel like their commitment is not for nothing. If you're a product manager working on a roadmap, we have a few more tips for you. We recommend you leave room for innovation. Following the Agile methodology, don't be too strict with your deadlines and commitments. Some product managers choose not to include dates on the roadmap at all. Be flexible with your timeline and deliverables to eliminate unnecessary stress and quickly adapt to changing needs. Also, choose your own format. You might benefit from more details and showing user stories or including more info like required resources. Many product roadmap tools provide wide capabilities, so you won't feel constrained by the same format and can experiment. If you're managing several products, you might want to include them all under the same roadmap for personal use. This will allow you to manage your time and resources better and have a larger context on the company's strategy. Finally, use the roadmap in your day-to-day. If the roadmap isn't updated and consulted often, it has no purpose. Working with it regularly will allow you to regain control even with vague deadlines. Bring it up at team meetings to remind your staff of the big picture and the value they're bringing with every task. Driven by a common, meaningful goal, people can do great work. That's what a roadmap is for. Behind each product, there are tons of documents, approvals, and meetings, so it's easy to lose the point of why this is all happening. The roadmap is the yellow brick road that serves as a reminder and guides you to your goal.